That's where you know a guy has ascended to a completely different level in combat sports, is where it literally does not matter who they fight. Jake Paul, it matters who he fights about whether or not people care and are going to watch. Sean Strickland, it doesn't anymore. So this is an insane video because it's like evolving. So I already filmed a segment where Jake Paul released the DMs between him and Sean Strickland talking about the $1 million fight. But then also Sean Strickland then subsequently released the full conversation, which was different. And I had already filmed the first one. And as I was about to put the video out, I saw that Sean had, so I was like, okay, I got to add that section. And then as I was about to drop that video, now there's a new response from Sean and Jake Paul. So like each of these segments was recorded before I saw the next one. So I actually think it makes for a very interesting video. And then also we got this one, Daniel Cormier commenting on it also. And we're going to start there. Without a huge preamble, I just want to say DC's take on this situation is notable because he's talking about whether or not Jake Paul and Sean could do the sparring match and the $1 million exchanging hands. So DC gets two things wrong, and they are basically the basis of his entire opinion, okay? So as you go to watch this, he is under the assumption that Jake Paul offered to pay $1 million to Sean Strickland to come spar. That's not what he did. And then number two is he talks about whether or not they could distribute the footage after the sparring match. Now that part, I would say I'm like 85% sure that I'm right. But the other part, I will show you'll see in the segment. I verified 100% that DC has this wrong, and it obviously changes things. But candidly, it changes things in the direction that makes it more questionable about whether or not he could do it. Anyway, that's what's going down. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. I appreciate you guys. All I ask if you're going to watch my content is that you subscribe to the channel. It's like Netflix, except instead of $15.99, you just one time click subscribe, and it's like, thank you guys. It's a gentleman's agreement, you know? Anyway, and then to my regulars, go ahead and like this video if you don't mind. So, okay, so we're gonna watch this real quick right now because it has to do with the entire thing.
You do not send a DM because that DM always comes to light. So what Jake says is he offered Sean $1 million to spar him. Here's one thing that Jake Paul was absolutely right about. What you can do is go to a gym and do a sparring session. Jake Paul could give Sean Strickland $1 million for that sparring session. Now, what Jake Paul is not telling you guys is, why would he? He can't promote this. He can't post this. So for him to, one, get a private jet to go pick Sean Strickland up in Las Vegas, money. Fly him down there, pay him $1 million, money. Not be able to use that footage is not a real thing. Jake Paul is not throwing away $1 million just to spar Sean Strickland.
No. He can use that footage. He just can't make, like, he could definitely post, like, why would he not be able to post a TikTok of him sparring Sean Strickland? He can't, like, sell it, but of course he could post it. People post sparring footage all the time. DC would have to explain that to me. It's because I understand what he's saying. What he's saying is that, like, he's saying that if you promote and sell the footage, that is equivalent to Sean violating his contract, because Sean's not allowed to get paid for a promoted fight, you know, that they put out. But that doesn't make it, there's no way you'd be able to defend that Sean violated his contract just because he went and sparred a guy and then the guy posted footage of them sparring. Like, that's happened all the time. There's footage of Mike Perry sparring Jake Paul. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, listen, dude, I'm open to being wrong about that, but that doesn't make sense to me.
I think he hates him that much. Unless he can recoup some of that money or all of it, he's not doing it.
No, okay. He said he'd give him $1 million if Sean beat him. That's what he said. He said he'd give him $1 million if he beat him. He didn't just say I'd give you $1 million. He said, I'll give you $1 million if you win. The thing that changes the most about the fact that the offer is $1 million in case you win is that changes the nature of the event, right? So if Sean Strickland is going to get paid $1 million to come spar, no one can tell him how much that person can pay him in order for him to come and be a sparring partner. So, like, there's nothing that the UFC could say about this guy wants to pay you $10 million to come spar. But if the agreement is $1 million if you win, that's different, because that's not a sparring. Like, that could theoretically be argued in court as a combat sports event, with cash prizes. Now, obviously, I don't have a UFC contract in front of me, but I would bet you that the nature of that situation makes it very different. You know, that you win the money as opposed to being paid for your services sparring. But anyway, let's move on. Anyway, that changes things. Okay, so this next section about Sean Strickland goes off on disgrace of combat sports, Jake Paul, I'm putting that at the end because this happened after all the other segments that I'm going to itemize throughout this thing. And so again, just super quick recap. We're going to go first. We're going to go Jake Paul releases the DMs and Sean Strickland sounds like a different person because he sounds so nice. He sounds so nice, man. It's bizarre. And then Sean Strickland releases the full set of DMs. And then we're going to show the aftermath after this and them going back and forth, which whatever's on this video, I'm going to cover at the end. So, oh, and I got a Dylan Danis and George Masvidal story in there too. So I jumped in my studio completely ready to film some other thing. And then I just randomly came across the full part of the Jake Paul story where Jake Paul, you know, was calling Strickland an insecure, you know, fake alpha male. I did a video about it yesterday. And I finally actually zoomed in on the DMs that went back and forth between Strickland and Jake Paul. And it's like, I don't understand why would this be something that that's a bad thing for Strickland? All this DM shows is that Strickland absolutely did want to fight. He just wanted to get paid for it, like not $1 million. He was trying to get a real paycheck for it. So, you know, the story I think that had come out was, you know, Jake Paul offered to, you know, give Strickland $1 million if he beats Jake Paul in a sparring match. And Strickland turned it down because the UFC told him not to spar him or whatever. I don't know. It was even the way Strickland told it, like the waters were a little bit muddy. Like it was like, I don't understand. Like, why is Hunter saying that these guys don't sell pay-per-views? Because like the, you know, when Strickland talked about it, he said, Hunter said these guys don't actually sell pay-per-views, they yada yada yada. And I'm like, I don't really understand how that is connected to a potential like sparring match in Puerto Rico. I just didn't understand the talk track. But now, after seeing these DMs, I understand exactly what that conversation was. So I'll just read this to you really quick. So Strickland says, Jake Paul says, can you come this next week? Any day works. I'll send you a plane. And Strickland says, I mute my Twitter, just seeing this. What about a real fight? I don't know if I can get UFC on board, but with their involvement, I think we can make this happen. Conor did it with Mayweather. And Jake says, they'll never let you fight me, but you can try, ask them. I'm here and ready to spar or fight. Let me know. And then so Strickland said, I'm sorry, this is really small on my screen. I can't actually read. I'm going to talk to Hunter about a fight. Man, that's a big fucking paycheck. Let me see what I can do. All right. So that's why the conversation went the way that it did with UFC, is because Sean was trying to set up a real fight with Jake Paul. Now, unfortunately, that is exactly accurate. They are, you know, listen, dude, the UFC is not going to tell everybody what they are actually doing behind the scenes because they are dealing with a bunch of people who fundamentally do not understand business in many cases. I'm not saying anybody in particular, right? Like some guys are, let me qualify exactly what I'm saying. There are a lot of people who are exceptional at promoting themselves, making money, and, you know, understanding kind of like part of the business. Very few fighters, first of all, probably even fall into that category, but very few fighters really understand the combat sports business, right? And so they get into this groove of giving these guys these like kind of these answers that are just meant to like, okay, you know, like pat them on the head. They're all, good job. Now go back to what you're here to do, which is train, and then we'll let you know when we're going to set up a fight. And so, you know, Hunter being like, listen, man, these guys don't really sell pay-per-views, assuming that was, you know, in reference to Sean asking to fight Jake Paul in the UFC, which I have to assume that that's what that conversation was. That is 100% not true. And they know it. Hunter knows that if Jake Paul fought in the UFC, it would sell 1 million. It would sell 1 million more. That would do more than 1 million pay-per-view. If it's possible to sell 7-figure pay-per-views to a younger audience, which is yet to be determined, to be honest, because it's so easy to steal the fights, then that would do it. I mean, that's the biggest possible pay-per-view fight that you could set up to where the younger generation would buy it. But honestly, the older generation's buying that too. But the reason why they're not going to actually do it is because Jake Paul is under contract with PFL. Okay? Like whatever benefit there would be to bringing him into the UFC, the risk of him performing well, right? Of him doing well against Sean or even potentially winning. I mean, like that would be a catastrophe for the UFC's business if Jake Paul came into the UFC octagon and did well against Sean, even if Sean wins. If Jake Paul hangs for, like, let's say it's a main event. Let's say Jake Paul just hangs for 5 rounds and kind of makes it a war. That's not just not good. That is a catastrophe for the UFC because now you have Jake Paul and Francis Ngannou under the PFL banner, and they could set up huge fights. Like that would be the worst. They will never do that. That's why whenever these people would ask Dana if he'll set up a crossover fight between Francis Ngannou and John Jones, and Dana's like, what? We tried to sign Francis. What are you talking about? And then they're like, yeah, but the fans want to see it. And he's like, every time someone asks that, I'm like, this is why these conversations in the public are so stupid half the time. Is because the people who are like shaping the conversation are fucking idiots. Okay. Like that is an idiotic question. Like that is an absolutely, not just an idiotic question. It's an idiotic statement as if that matters. The fans want to see Francis fight John. It's like, so what, dude? What does that have to do with Dana putting the fight on? Francis is the marquee name for their rival organization that is gearing up to try to knock them off their pedestal. Why the fuck would they give Francis a huge platform and the ability to potentially, devalue the UFC, establish himself as the actual baddest man on the planet? Like, as long as John Jones and Francis don't fight, or whoever is the UFC heavyweight champion, as long as they don't fight, then there's always, it's like, oh, I mean, maybe he's the best, but he's over there fighting tomato cans. You bring him into the octagon and he starches the UFC heavyweight champion, then he's over at PFL. It's like, yeah, but you can make a lot of money for that event. It's like, Jesus, guys. I mean, it's just such a stupid comment. It does not matter. Unless, again, this is back to like you want the world that you wish you lived in, not the one that you actually live in. And like, look, dude, you think I don't want to see Francis Ngannou fight John Jones? Of course I do. So does Dana. But this is business. It's not going to happen. And Jake Paul thing is the exact same story. There's no way that they're going to bring. Now, if Jake Paul was a free agent, I mean, let me just make this perfectly. If Jake Paul was a free agent and the UFC could sign Jake Paul, that's a completely different conversation. Of course they would do that. But Jake Paul is signed to PFL. So this is a non-starter. There's absolutely no scenario in a million years that UFC is going to cross-promote anyone at PFL, especially someone with a big name like Jake or Francis. So let's move on. All right, so now I have to react to Sean Strickland reacting to Jake Paul stuff that we just talked about. All right, so he apparently is going straight to, murking somebody again. It's like it's so funny. Like, he has to escalate no matter what. Like, if you go at Sean and you're like, hey, man, I'll bet you $10 on this next shot. He's all, I'll bet you $50. They're all right. Well, how about I bet you $55? All $2,000. It's like, he only goes this direction. There are no back steps, dude. The Navy SEALs are like, hey, man, you're a badass. We're badasses, but like, we're Navy SEALs, man. Like, the stakes are higher for what we do, right? We die to protect your freedom. He's all, fuck you and fuck your freedom, son. He's all, you don't protect shit. You're like, Sean, this is not a hill you want to die. I mean, like, just take a backward step. He's like, I don't know how. I don't do backward steps. So, eventually he always escalates these like verbal things to, I'll kill you, because he only knows how to go up. No backward steps ever. So he responded, coward and a liar. There are so many legal ways you can die in America. Our founding fathers killed men for less. Bring a GoPro. Come to my house. State your intent. Break a window. I don't call cops. I don't press charges. I know you would. But bring the mill, please. Because here is what actually was said. So this is very different, So I'm going to talk about, man, that's a big check. So then Monday, after talking to Hunter, he says, yeah, man, I doubt it. But I'll meet you in Texas for a 1v1, LMAO. Can you still bring the mill? But just us. It's the only state we can do it in. Okay. And then Jake Paul did not respond to that. So, yeah. I mean, that seems notable. At least in relation to like Sean's brand, you know, where he's like, I mean, like who doesn't want money? Who doesn't want to make a bunch of money? It's not unreasonable for him to see if they can go make it a sanctioned bout, right? And then he's like, could you picture Jake Paul breaking in my house with $1 million and a GoPro saying, I'm here to kill you? Sean, you beat a man to death. Why didn't you pull your gun if your life was in danger? He was on me too fast. I couldn't get to my pocket. Again, straight to I'll kill you every time. What happened in America? Seriously, founding fathers should duel each other. Now we're just a bunch of pussies with safe spaces, puppy therapy. What the fuck happened? Twilight Zone. Dude, Jake is asking you to fight him. This is like, you know what I mean? Like this in this case this is like not a, Jake Paul is asking you to fight. Like the we're all pussies now doesn't fit in this case. He's not a pussy. He's asking to fight you. Like, anyway, but I would really love to see them fight, though. That's for goddamn sure. All right, now finally we get to watch this segment that dropped this morning. I have not seen this yet, so I'm going to give you my live reaction to Sean Strickland going off on Disgrace to Combat Sports Jake Paul. By the way, Jake Paul is going to win by first or second round knockout today. I mean, that is... I looked at highlights of this guy that he's fighting. Like, believe me, this guy has no chance of winning. None.
I just watched Jake Paul's press conference, and what did he do to become famous?
I have a question. Like, what is the Rhino? Like, how did you come up with that nickname?
Like right here, we all know he's trying to set up his own joke.
My grandpa gave it to me when I was younger.
And that pause speaks millions. He's like, oh, I can't make fun of his grandpa.
Are you vegan like rhinos?
No.
So you don't embody the true rhino spirit?
Chuck Liddell didn't live in the ice. Anderson Silva didn't eat flies. Randy Couture was natural.
I was pretty tough and strong as a kid, so my grandpa gave it to me.
That's what's up, bro. Congrats. Fire nickname.
I lost it then. That was the moment where you knew he thought, oh, this isn't working. I got to abort.
And when you said you were going to take me into deep waters, do you realize that rhinos are land animals?
The dude didn't have a backup plan. His whole thing was set up for that punchline. And one line later said, rhinos can't swim.
You are really funny. I gotta give you that, bro.
No, he's not. Don't give him that. We all saw that coming a minute and a half ago.
I'm not even trying to be funny. I just am pointing out what you said and kind of poking holes in it. That's all.
Let me get this straight. So you're poking holes in his nickname being the Rhino by pointing out he's not actually a rhino.
It's biology.
Yes.
Hashtag science.
And I got a C- in biology, but I know some things.
I got a C- on biology, but I think I know you're not actually a rhino.
You got a C- in trash talk. Lucky he's a really good fighter now. Getting there, dude. He's like, I'm telling you, dude. Like this dude he's fighting tonight is a pro boxer, retired for a while. But like I said, I went and watched highlights, like the best they could come up with of this dude. And instantaneously, I was like, oh, Jake starches him inside 6 minutes for sure.
I have a few more questions for you, though.
We've learned a lot in the last 20 minutes about you.
Yep.
All right, so he says, did you guys know Jake Paul is fighting? Neither did I. LMAO, Sam Alvey tagged me in. Was it hard to find a retired fighter to box? You're literally paying cans to fight and lose to you. Is that even legal? You're a freaking clown. Absolute disgrace to combat sport. So this is the thing about that, right? If Jake was an MMA fighter, then this would be totally on point. But as a boxer, he's actually trying to go and become a champion in boxing. What he's doing is exactly how they do that, Like if you go look at Mike Tyson's record early on when he was coming up, let me actually just see real quick if there's anything else. All right, I asked UFC to fight him, thought maybe I could get a big check, but then Hunter showed me his numbers. It's all fake. They give away tickets to the fight, all fake. Dude, let me tell you something. Now, you could say that maybe it was Nate Diaz driving the tickets for the Nate and Jake one, but trust me, that place was sold out and it was off the hook. Again, it is Nate Diaz, huge draw, definitely different than any of the other fights he did, except for like the Tommy Fury one, which was in Saudi Arabia anyway. But that event was so fun, dude. Like, it was so fun. But yeah, I mean, listen, dude, the numbers are based it takes two to sell a fight, dude. You know what I mean? It takes two to sell a fight. Now, Sean Strickland is probably at a point himself where he could fight anyone and people are going to watch and buy, but he's an enigma, dude. He's a superstar. Straight up. That's how you know, dude. I'm telling you, that's where you know a guy has like ascended to a completely different level in combat sports, is where it literally does not matter who they fight. Jake Paul, it matters who he fights about whether or not people care and are going to watch. Sean Strickland, it doesn't anymore. Sean Strickland literally is just, and the other thing is he's going out there and he's jabbing guys to death. Like he's literally going out there. He's like, yeah, I'm just going to throw a jab, 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 cross, jab, cross, jab, cross, and then play really good, Philly shell defense. It's like, it's not a super exciting way to fight. It's, in my opinion, has always been, it's because he loves fighting so much that he actually subconsciously does not want to finish the fight. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure he could get guys out of there. I mean, look, listen, does he have titanic power compared to some other guys? No, but he could barrage guys, and I seriously think he doesn't want the fight to end. But nonetheless, even with a style like that, it still matters zero who he fights because people are going to watch no matter what. He's on a different level, like Nate Diaz, like Conor McGregor. Honestly, those are the only three guys really that can be fighting anyone and people are going to watch. Maybe Tyson Fury a little bit, but not really. It's just them, dude. But in terms of Jake Paul, he's going the boxer route. That's a completely different deal. Like, just as an example, look at it. This is Mike Tyson's record on the come up. And the point I want to make, I mean, I could click into any of these guys and you'll see these guys are most of them are cans. And look at this. So he fought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 times in 1985. 15 times in 1985. Okay? Like, that's what they do. They just line them up, dude. And, like, let's just go into any of them. All right, let's see about Robert Collet. 7-13, Or, like Michael Johnson, 15-18. You know what I mean? Like, these guys, that's what you do. David Jocko, 24-25. You just knock them down, dude. It's to get your record high, so on and so forth. Dude, how many times did he fight in 86? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 times. Man, he was fighting, and then that's where he fought for the title right there. He had 25 fights in 2 years and became the champion. Let's see Yeah, so the guy that he beat right before he got the title shot, was coming off of Anyway, but you guys get the point. That's what Jake Paul's doing. He's not going like, if it was MMA, that would not be an honorable thing. He's just to go find like guys that are terrible just so he can run through them. But that is what boxers do. So anyway, now let's watch this Dylan Danis thing with George Masvidal, because I have the matchup that I mean, like, you want to sell some pay-per-views? If you can't get Nate Diaz, that's the guy. Get George versus Dylan Danis in mixed martial arts in what's it called? Game Bread, dude. But anyway, watch this segment and then we'll be done. Of course, so leave it to Dylan Danis to get involved because Jake Paul posted the following. Okay, so Jake Paul is like, in 3 days, I fight for the Paul family, for Judah, for my amazing team, my purpose, and to further change the sport of boxing. Boxing, I owe you everything, including Ryan Borland's head top. And that's him grabbing the very, very nice looking booty that is his, right? So that's it, like, props to Jake Paul on all of his preparation. He looks yoked as hell, and his girl looks like she has a very perky piece of ass that you can grab your hands full of. But then Dylan's like, I'm sorry, did you say something about your girl? Because just in case you didn't know, here's another guy grabbing her ass. This dude is relentless, man. Like, Dylan is relentless. And then you also got this dude. He just straight up said, like, So, Jorge's looking to fight Nate Diaz, and Dylan Dennis like, shut up, fat ass. It's like, hey, George, can I make a suggestion? Dylan Dennis. I just thought of this right now, on the spot. On the spot. I came on here to talk about the Jake Paul post that he made. I'm changing my ideas. It should be, dude, get Dylan into your Game Bread organization and you fight him, because that is going to sell some motherfucking pay-per-views. You're out of your mind if you don't do that. Do it. For sure. For 100% sure, do it. 100% sure. That will do gangbuster numbers. I mean, I know you hate crotch sniffers, and Dylan for sure will do that, and because we're talking about mixed martial arts, but you also might be able to jump knee him, dude. I've seen that work seen it work before. The old, you're about to crotch sniff, I'm going to jump knee your face. That worked out pretty nice. So that is my new suggestion for George Masvidal, is to sign Dylan Dennis and get after it. Anyway, that's what I got for the channel, for the show. I love you guys. Bye-bye.